Okay, so let's continue the Cube Audio, comparing the Cube Audio 8-inch neodymium and non-neodymium versions. So this is what I promised. I'm going to compare now them to one each other. What's the main difference between the two? So basically, for the Magus version, you have an apparent efficiency that your ears will perceive around 96 or so dB on axis, and compared to that, you have like a very quite a bit of high energy. So that extra high energy starts already around 7.5 kilohertz, and it goes up to about 16 kilohertz or so. So for the neodymium version, that extra high energy starts still about 6, 7, 8, around the same spot, but it's much narrower, up to like 12 kilohertz or so, and so the non-neodymium version actually has a quite a bit more high energy, and actually here we do not see the 60-degree off-axis response, so we don't know, they don't show it, so I don't know how. Actually they show, wow, so the red one, that's the, so they don't show here the 10 degrees off axis. So the 60 degrees off axis, you still have a lot of high frequency energy. We are still at 93 dB at 10 kilohertz, but look, for the neodymium version, we are down to 82 dB or so at efficiency. So off axis, the new driver has a much less high energy than the Magus. And what that means is that towing your neodymium driver using Cube Audios will make a bigger impact on how the balance of the high frequencies behave, because there's going to be a 20 dB response difference between 60 degrees off axis and on axis, and at 10 kilohertz basically. It's a little less than 20, but it's tremendous, like more than 16 dB for this entire range. That's guys, that's huge. That's a lot of energy difference. So how big is that energy? Basically, it's kind of like it's 40 times less in power level. So basically, if you are listening, let's say, to a 40 watt level, then it's like 40 watt versus 1 watt output. That's the comparable difference level between the how loud this 7 to 12 kilohertz region is when it's towed in or not. And for the Magus driver, the difference is much less. You see, the difference is basically less than 10 dB. What is that? Around 6-7 dB. That's pretty awesome. So it means that whether you are sitting in front of the loudspeaker or you are moving around in the room, you are getting a much closer sound. So these Magus drivers will be a more natural, more balanced sounding drivers because of that, because their high frequency energy is much more balanced, and it will be much more forgiving for you when you are placing your loudspeaker. However, the Neo driver, it will behave more like a sports car type of scenario. Is that by placing your loudspeaker and the towing in, you can dramatically alter how it sounds. With the Magus, no. You have a much more stable character, but you cannot change that character. It stays no matter how you position it. For the Neo, you can position it very drastically differently to have like very different sonic signatures, but you will be locked into your listening position. So this tells you that here the sweet spot for the F8 Neo is very narrow, and this tells us that the F8 Magus has a much wider sweet spot. Actually, guys, I can tell you that with this sort of measurement, it is possible to place a driver like this in a fashion that the sweet spot disappears and you can be anywhere in your room and the image holds. So basically, you can make your entire room the sweet spot. For the F8 Neo, you cannot do that. And also what we have here for the neodymium version is that there's a major lack of energy in this region where our ear perceives the SPL of a loudspeaker. So you see, even on axis, we are below 90 dB, and at 3 kilohertz, this is the peak of the human hearing. So this is where our ears are most sensitive. Look, there it drops to 83 dB sensitivity. That's like a normal loudspeaker level. And then yeah, sure, by 2 kilohertz we're back to 90, but it also means that this region here, if we have an imbalance in sensitivity, that's going to show up as a very strong personality of the loudspeaker. So this means that this driver, the loudspeaker using this driver, will have a strong personality to it. And because this region where your hearing is most sensitive, 2 kilohertz to 5 kilohertz, the efficiency, the sensitivity is pretty low, then your ear will perceive it as a low efficiency driver. However, compared to that, the bass is really high up and the highs are really high up. So what you will perceive is a tremendous bass boost and a tremendous high frequency boost. So you will have like a very extreme showroom sound. So if you go to showrooms and you hear loudspeakers that are just like stunning, like, wow, what kind of sound was that? What's this ultra high definition? What's going on? Now this is a profile that is like that. And I had really fantastic comments and feedback that tell me that the Cube Audio guys, they made the driver on purpose to have that kind of sound. This is the sound they wanted to achieve. And this Neo driver, F8 Neo, is taking that sound to the extreme. So if you want showroom sound, then this is going to get the ultimate showroom sound for you. The Magus driver is the exact opposite. This will give you a very natural sound, and it will not pop out the high frequencies, only a tiny bit. Here, look at that. So the most sensitive region of the hearing versus the high frequencies, we have like a 17 dB difference. And here we have 10 dB difference. So almost half of that. Okay, so let's go at the TLS small parameters of the F8 Magus, the non-Neo version, and I would like to show that it has a self-resonant frequency of 40 Hz, and that's a little lower than most 8-inch full-range drivers. They're typically around 45 Hz or a little higher, and this means that here we have it a little lower, so that gives us the chance that the Magus will play lower in Hertz than most other 8-inch drivers, so you are going to get deeper bass out of it. And the VAS is 53 liters, so it means that you don't need a very big cabinet for it. You can, like a 2 cubic feet cabinet is enough for it to have a good bass. And of course they specify sensitivity to 94 dB, but when you look at the sensitive area where the hearing is sensitive. It's around 96-ish dB. So I would say that it's more sensitive than what they specify. And for the Neo, the website specifies 91 dB, and yes, I can concur that it's something like that. Your ear will think it less than 91 because that sensitive region is lower than that. However, you are getting such tremendous top end and such tremendous lower end that really the feel of a 91 dB is kind of accurate to describe. So I think they did a really good job about how they are describing their drivers and naming them what's the efficiency is, because there's a lot of companies out there that tremendously inflate the measurements, and Cube Audio guys, they did not inflate their measurements. And just for you guys to note that the neodymium drivers are much stronger than the non-neodymium drivers, so you expect them to have much higher efficiency, and no, the efficiency is actually much lower for the neodymium driver. However, with the addition that there is a big peak in the top end and a big peak in the low end, and I would say that the neodymium magnet just makes the sound more unbalanced, and to me that's not necessarily a good thing, because if you have this type of scenario that you have a strong range where your hearing is acute, and if you don't have enough high frequency energy, you can add the super tweeter. If you don't have enough low end, you can add a bass driver or a subwoofer. But if you are already in this situation, if you want to change that, you cannot change it because you are locked by the extremes. Where do we go? Anyway, I think I will stop here. I have also the 10-inch version comparisons, and I will compare it to one of the Fostex drivers as well. This is the driver that I used in my void pipe, and but that's for another day. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe and share your experiences. I want to hear about that. Bye bye.